So you guys know that saying opinions are like belly buttons, everybody has one? That's pretty much how I feel about the League of Legends community most of the time. Especially when it comes to balance, I feel like everybody wants to throw in their own 2-cent opinion on what they think Riot should do to balance the game. Nerf Kassadin, nerf Aurelia, buff Shaco, remove Teemo. Typically this is only actually a vocal minority that sort of just spams the forums with all these requests, but because League is such a huge game, that minority is actually pretty large and certainly very vocal. If you ask me though, I think Riot's actually been doing a pretty decent job in balancing the game, especially as of recently. They still focus a lot on nerfing champions, but pretty much they do a good job nerfing the problem champions, buffing a handful of weaker ones, and overall giving a lot of time and effort into making the game as balanced as possible. And no matter how much you claim something is overpowered, nothing has been overpowered like LeBlanc on release or anything. Seriously, any of you who weren't there for when LeBlanc was released, she got hotfixed almost immediately, but the 5 games that I played with her, I never had below a 3.5 KDA. She was ridiculously overpowered. But anyway, if you guys would like to see my belly button on how I think Riot should balance the game, I wish they'd give a little bit more of a focus towards balancing it at the most competitive level there is. Not the LCS or anything, but just sort of Diamond and Challenger solo queue. If they could focus on making the game as balanced as possible up there, then we'd have a pretty interesting dynamic in every league out there. Theoretically, let's say that because Riot only has to focus on balancing it at Challenger, Diamond 1 through 3, they get a perfectly balanced game at the highest level of competitive play. Now, every other rating might not necessarily be balanced. Like for instance, let's say with this theoretically perfectly balanced game, maybe hyper carries just destroy players in bronze and silver because of the mistakes that they make. Characters like Master Yi, Kassadin, who can capitalize on those bronze and silver mistakes of overextending or not warding, etc, etc. They might be overpowered in bronze through silver, gold through platinum, or whatever, depending on what rating you're at and what certain strategies work well against certain players' mistakes. But if they're actually balanced when played properly, that just incentivizes everyone else to get better at the game. Getting beat by something is how you learn to deal with it, and as time goes on, bronze and silver players will slowly learn, oh, you can actually deal with this champion this way, and then as they learn that, they'll start to climb in rank. This has its own problems though, like what happens when a champion's balanced for the top level of competitive play, but just stomps in solo queue for 99% of every other player out there. Which is why it would probably never work, or at least there'd be a lot of backlash if Riot did start to balance the game solely around this sort of way. Either way though, balance in video games is something that's pretty interesting to take a look at and have discussions about, simply because of the fact that it's something unique to video games. In every other physical sport, whether it's soccer, football, or the Olympics even, balance is just based around what a human being can physically do. Even in something like chess or other board games, balance is based around a fixed set of rules that never ever change. But in League and other evolving video games, there can be variety in gameplay. With every single patch, there are hundreds of tiny details that can change as time goes on, and you can have certain characters that were unable to compete at the highest level are suddenly overpowered or are suddenly a top pick for pro teams. Even other video game genres like the first-person shooter hardly change at all. They're just based around a fixed set of rules that are balanced, quote-unquote, based around what people can do. But online games with ever-changing variables like League provide something that no other game or sport can, and it's always interesting to see how the certain companies or the people behind decisions of how everything's balanced choose to take the direction of their game. Anyway though, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. I'm going to be streaming a little bit more today and for most of this a week, so links down in the description if you guys want to come watch me stream. But until tomorrow, thank you very much for watching, good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.